Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we will dive deep into one of the most essential topic in JavaScript, and that is event and event handling. Have you ever wondered that how websites respond instantly when we click a button, or when we are hover an image, or when we are typing something in a form? That magical interaction is made possible through something which is known as events and event handling. In the world of JavaScript and web development, events are user actions or browser triggered signals like clicking or scrolling or submitting a form or even resizing a window. Browser detects all those events and reacts to them. Event handling is the technique which is used to capture those events and respond to them through functions, which makes our website dynamic and interactive. In this video, we will explore the core concepts behind event handling in JavaScript. We will understand that how to attach an event listeners to HTML elements. We will see the difference between event types like we have click event, mouse over or key down event. We will also see that why separating HTML structure from JavaScript logic is considered as a best practice. Whether you are building a simple form or building a full-scale application, mastering event handling is essential for creating responsive, user-friendly websites. So let's dive in and make your web pages come alive. Let's start with the very basics. What exactly is an event? In web development, an event is any interaction or occurrence the browser detects. This can include things like clicking a button or hovering a mouse over an image or pressing a key down, or when we are submitting a form, or when resizing the window, or even a web page when finishes its loading. It is also an event. Now let's understand how we can handle these events. In JavaScript, we use event listeners to wait for a specific event to happen on a particular element. When the event occurs, the listener hears it and runs a function which is known as the callback function. The most common and modern way to attach an event listener is using the addEventListener method. Now we will see how we can use this addEventListener method and we can handle all those events. So let's see one by one. Now we will see that what is the basic syntax of the addEventListener method. We use this addEventListener method on a particular element. So what we do, the basic syntax is that first of all we will take the element, and after it I will use addEventListener method. Inside the addEventListener method, we give two parameters. The first parameter is the event name and the second parameter is the callback function. The first parameter, I will write the event name in the form of string. So here I will specify the event name. After it, we will write our callback function. So this is the basic syntax of the addEventListener method. Now let's see that how we can use this addEventListener method and we handle our events. For this, first of all, I will create a new file here, an HTML file. So I just name it as events.html. So here I just write the basic HTML structure. So here I don't need this one. So inside title, I write here event handling. So inside the body, I just make a simple button. So I name this button click me. So I specify the button ID. So ID name will be btn ID. So now what we do, we will link our this event.js file to our this events.html file. So how to link this? So here inside the head, I will write just a script tag. Inside script tag, I will specify the src attribute. So source will be our our events.js file. So now our this events.js file, this file will be linking to this file. So if I just write here console.log, and inside console I write here hello from events.js. So if I save the file, and I'm also saving the HTML file. So now you will see that when I run this file and when I go to the browser console, I will get my this console.log. So if I run this file and inside the browser, so if I just go in the console, and here in the console, so you see hello from events.js. So now our events.js file is successfully linked to the events.html file. So now we will use our addEventListener method here inside events.js file. So how to do? So after it, first of all, what I will do, I will just create a variable and I name variable button. So now I want to target this button inside the HTML file. So now how to target this btn? I will use the getElementById method. So I just write here document.getElementById. So here I will specify the ID name. So our ID name is btn ID. Just copy this one and paste it here. Now I am successfully targeting this one, this button element. So now I will use the addEventListener method on this button element. So what I write button.addEventListener method. Inside addEventListener method, first of all, we will provide the event name. So our event name will be click. So after comma, we run our callback function. So I am just writing simple function here. So here inside the function, what I will do, I am just simply writing alert. So I just write here button clicked. That's it. So now what I do, I just target the button element using the DOM manipulation. I'm using the getElementById method from the DOM manipulation. So now I am selecting this element. So now on this button element, I am using the addEventListener method. And here I will just write the event name, which is click. So now I am saying that whenever this event will happen, run this function. So now what will happen when I click this button in the browser, this alert will be popped up. So if I go to the browser and now if I click this, our alert will be work. So now you see button clicked, our alert come, button click. So if I just change the text here, I just write okay, alert is working fine. So if I save the file, so now this text we will see in the alert. So if I just go to the browser, so if I again click, so you see, okay, alert is working fine. Now we will see that what are the types of common events. There are many types of events in the JavaScript, and here are I mentioned some of the most commonly used. So the first one is click event. Click event fired when an element is clicked. So we just see before that when we click on the button, the click event will fired and our alert will be popped up on the browser. So the second one is mouse over or mouse out. This event fired when we enters or leaves a mouse on an element. So there is an element. If we use the mouse over event, so when mouse enters an element, this event will be triggered. So when we use the mouse out event, this event will be triggered when we just release our mouse from an element. The next one is key down and key up events. These events fired when a user presses or releases a key. The next one is submit event. This event fired when a form is submitted. When we submit any form, this event will be fired. The next one is change event. The change event will fire when the value of an input or select or a text area changes. We see later that how this event will work when we change the value of any input or any text area or any select item. The next is load event. The load event will fire when the browser finishes its loading. For example, when a page is loading or when an image is loading, when the browser finishes the loading, this event will fire. The next one is resize event. This event will be fired when the window size is changed. When we change our window size, this event will be fired. All of these events can be handled by using the addEventListener method the same way as we did before with the click event. So we see click event before. So now we will see that how these events works. So the next one is mouse over, and instead of click, I just write here mouse over. So now what will happen? Whenever I hover the mouse on this button in the browser, I will see the alert. So if I just save the file and if I go to the browser, so whenever I hover the mouse on this button, we will see an alert. So you see, the next one is mouse out. So if I just go there and instead of mouse over, I just write here mouse out. So now what will happen? Whenever I remove the mouse from the button element, we will see an alert. So now if I go to the browser, so now I am hovering the mouse, there is no alert. But whenever I release the mouse from the button element, we will see an alert. So if I just release the mouse, so you see, here is an alert. The next one is key down and key up. These events fired when a user presses or releases a key. So if I just go there and I write here key down event, so now you will see as long as I press any key in the browser, this event will be fired. So if I just save the file and if I just go to the browser, so now inside the browser, I am clicking this button, nothing is happening. But as long as I am pressing any key, the event will be fired. So if I just pressing the enter key, so you see here is an alert. The next one is submit event. So this event we will see in the coming videos whenever we are working with the forms. At that time, we will see this event. The next one is change event. So if I just go to the VS Code and I just write here a simple input and placeholder will be enter text. So now what we will do, we will mention its ID and its ID name will be input. So if I save the file and inside the events.js file, instead of btnid, I just write here the ID name input. Here I also change in input element and also write it here. So now what is happening? I just change the variable input element and I am targeting the input over this input. So now what will happen? I am using this addEventListener method, and inside addEventListener method, I will specify the event which is change event. So now as long as the input will be changed, this function will be triggered. So instead of alert, if I just write here console.log and I write here change event is triggered, and if I save the file and now if I go to the browser and here you see an input. So if I just go to the console, so now you will see that as long as the text will be changed in this input, our this function will be triggered because we are using the change event on the input element. So if I just go in the browser, so now you will see that as long as I change the text, our this function will be triggered. So if I just write any text here, so you see change event is triggered. As long as I click enter or I click outside, our change event is triggered. So there is also another event which is similar to change event, and that is input event. So what input events will do? Input event will work that as long as I type in the input, this function will be triggered. If I just save the file and I go to the browser, so now you will see as long as I just type, this function will be triggered. So if I just type one word, this function will be triggered. If I just type second, third, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in every type, this function will be triggered. The next one is load event. This event will be triggered when the entire page, including all the images, style sheets, and external resources has finished loading. To use this, what we will do, we attach an event listener to the window object. So how to do? We take the window object and we attach the addEventListener method along with the window object. So we write here window.addEventListener. So here inside first parameter, I specify the event name, which is load. And the second one is our callback function. So our function will be console.log, and I just write here load event triggered. So now if I save the file and if I go to the browser, and you see our page is loading, our page finishes its loading. So if I just go to the console, so I should see our console.log. So you see load event triggered. So if I just clear the console, so now if I refresh the page, our this event will be triggered. So if I just refresh the page, so you see load event triggered. If I again refresh, again load event triggered. This means that our code inside this function will only run once everything on the page is ready. For example, if our page contains a very large image or having a large data, the load event will wait until the image or data fully downloaded before executing. So whenever we want to make sure that our JavaScript runs after all resources are loaded, we use the load event on the window object. The next one is resize event. This event will be fired when the window size is changed. So how to use this? So in the code, if I just write instead of load, I just write the resize. So now I just write here resize event triggered. So now if I just save the file and if I just go to the browser and if I just change the window size, so you see every time I change the window size, this function will be triggered. So if I just clear it, if I just move a little bit, so you will see 3 times the function will be triggered. So now you see as long as I am changing the size, the function will be triggered. So we see that how we can use all those events by using the addEventListener method. So when an event occurs, JavaScript provides an event object automatically to the event handler. This object contains very useful information about the event. For example, it contains the information like which key was pressed, which element was clicked. So all the information about the event will be provided in this event object. So here I am targeting our button element, which is here having the ID btn ID. If I use the click event on this button element, so here inside the function parameter, I will get the event object. So if I just console.log this event object, so I write just E. So this will log the full event object in the console. It will showing the details like what are the target element, mouse position. So if I save the file and if I run this HTML file, so inside the browser, when I click this button, this will log the full event object in the console. So if I just go to the console, so now if I click this button, so you see the full event object will be printed. So you see all the information about the event will be here. So event phase, detail, default prevented, and if we go down, so you see x-axis, y-axis. So you see all the information about the view. So if we go here, so here is the target element. So what is the target element? Target element is button. So here inside all the information about our target element will be here. So if we go down, so you will see that what are the children's. If we use any class on our target element, it will show here. So if we go down, so here is the ID of our target element, our inner text of our target element. So all the information about our target element will be here inside this target object. By using this event object, we can do some powerful things. For example, if we go there inside our code and inside event.js, if I just write instead of console.log, if I just write here that our event will be E, so let's name it event. So I write event and I write here event.target. So you see we have our target object. As we see here, this is our target object. Same object we get here. So target dot. So now I can do a lot of things. I can do a lot of things on this target element. So if I just write here style dot background color is equal to blue. So now this will change the button background color when it's clicked. If I just write here again that event dot target dot style dot color, this will change the text color of the button. So I want it white. So now if I save the file and now if I go to the browser, so now when I click this button background will be blue, but button text will become white. So I click this button. So you see button text become white and button background will become blue. So by using this event object, we can do a lot of things. We will also see in the next advanced video that how we can utilize this event object. There are multiple ways to handle events in JavaScript, but let's talk about the inline event handlers. Let's see that how we can use the inline event handlers. And an inline event handler, it is looks like that if I remove this ID, here in the button element, I just write the event handler name. I write onclick, and here inside onclick, I just write simple alert, and alert will be inline event handler. So while this thing works, but it's not considered a best practice because it mixes the HTML with JavaScript. It's harder to scale for larger applications. When we build large application, it's harder to scale the code. The moreover, if we use this approach, we can only use one event handler on one element. We cannot add the multiple event handlers on one element. So if I save the file and if I just run the file, and whenever I click this button, I will see an alert. So you see inline event handler, this alert will be C. By using this approach, we can assign only one event handler in this way. But if we go this approach using the addEventListener method, in this way we can add multiple event listeners on one element. So if I just copy this one and paste it here and I write here that this will be first event listener and this will be second event listener. So now if I save the file and here instead of inline event listener, I just write the simple ID name. So ID is btn ID and here is btn ID. So what will happen when I click this button in the browser? So both of these event will be triggered. So I will see two console in my console. Just go there and if I just go to the browser and I open console. So now you will see as long as I click this button, there will be two console. So I click this button. So you see there are two consoles, first event listener, second event listener. So now both of these event will be triggered. But if we go inline approach, we can only use one event listener. There is also a concept of called event propagation. Event propagation basically refers to that how events move through the DOM. So basically there are two phases for event propagation. Number one is capturing phase. In this phase, the event moves from the outermost element to the target element. And second one is bubbling phase. So in this bubbling phase, event moves from the target back up to the root element. By default, most event listeners work in the bubbling phase, but we can control this behavior. We will explore this in detail in an advanced video. So let's put everything together with a quick demo. And here is my input, and after input, what I will do, instead of button, I just write here p tag. This will be paragraph tag, and I name its ID. ID name will be paragraph ID. So here in the JavaScript file, what I will do, first of all, I create an element input, and I use the document dot get element by ID, and the name of our input ID will be input. So let's copy this one and here input. So now I am successfully targeting this input. So let's create another variable, and I write here output text, and I write document dot get element by ID. Where I want to show my text, I want to show my text here inside this paragraph. So let's copy this ID and paste it here, paragraph ID. So now what I will do, I will use an addEventListener on this element, input element. So I write input dot addEventListener, and the listener will be input. So now as long as I will type in the input, this event will be triggered. After it, I write my callback function. So here is a callback function. So this function will receive an event here in the parameter. So inside function, I will target this element, paragraph element. So here I will write output text dot. Here I will use the method which is text content. So text content. So whatever our text will be, our text will be what I am typing in the input. So from where I will get it? I will get it from our event. So I write here e dot target dot value. That's it. So now as long as I will type in my input, I will see the same output in our paragraph. So if I just go to the browser, and if I type here that this is event handler demo video. So now you see, as I am typing, the paragraph updating live. This is the power of event handling in the real-time interactivity. And that's all about the basics of the event handling. By now, you should understand what events are, how to listen for them using addEventListener, how the event object works, and how to create interactive experience for your users. These fundamentals are the building blocks for everything from the form validation to advanced UI features. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. If you have any question or want a deep dive in topics like event delegation and debouncing, I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep coding and keep growing.